Hello everyone, the story I'm going to share today is how Zhao Zilong rescues the child lord. In the 13th year of Jian An, Cao Cao's army fought all the way to the south, to the city of Jingzhou. Liu Cong, the governor of Jingzhou, surrendered. Liu Bei was stationed in Fancheng, and he was also unable to resist Cao's army. So he abandoned the city and hurriedly retreated to Jiangling in the south. Because of Liu Bei's kindness and benevolence, when passing through the city of Xiangyang, hundreds of thousands of people were willing to follow him, fleeing with him to Jiangling. That many people following him, however, seriously affected his marching speed. Cao Cao had once told Liu Bei, "In the world today, the heroes should be you and me." Therefore, Cao Cao would not let Liu Bei go easily. He especially sent 5,000 elite cavalry to chase Liu Bei day and night, until the army almost reached Changbanpo in Dangyang City. At this critical moment, Liu Bei didn't get a chance to take care of his wife and child. He escaped with dozens of people, including Zhang Fei, Zhuge Liang, and Zhao Yun, whose courtesy name was Zilong. Soon as they were on their way, Zhao Yun suddenly disappeared. A soldier reported, "I saw Zhao Yun going north, possibly seeking shelter with Cao Cao." When Liu Bei heard this, he immediately scolded, "Zilong will never betray me." While fleeing, Zhao Yun had suddenly turned his horse's head and then quickly headed in the opposite direction. He thought of Liu Bei's son Adou and Liu Bei's wife Lady Gan, who were still trapped by Cao's army. Therefore, in order to gain more time to save them, Zhao Yun rushed into the enemy's army to find Liu Bei's son without first reporting his plan to Liu Bei. Amidst the chaos among the soldiers, he everywhere searched for the baby. There was a huge crowd, cries were everywhere, and countless wounded people were rushing for their life. Zhao Yun suddenly saw a man lying in the grass. It turned out to be Counselor Jian An, who was injured and fell from his horse. He told Zhao Yun that he saw Liu Bei's wife carrying her baby among many escaped people. Immediately, Zhao Yun decided to give Jian An a horse one of his entourage was riding, and asked him to go to report to Liu Bei. Then he immediately ran to the south to look for the wife and the baby. Through calling up Lady Gan's name to the crowd, he finally found her. She was in tears and told Zhao Yun that she got separated from Lady Mi, who was carrying the baby at that time. While speaking, a group of Cao soldiers flashed both and tied up Liu Bei's general Mi Zhu to take him to their military headquarters to ask for a reward. Zhao Yun shouted loudly, raised his weapon, and rode his horse straight toward the general. Thus, he rescued Mi Zhu. Zhao Yun asked Mi Zhu to accompany Lady Gan to reunite with Liu Bei, while he was going to lead several entourages to continue searching for Liu Bei's son Adou. While they were on the way, Zhao Yun ran into more Cao soldiers and had to fight all the way. After retreating from the enemy, Zhao Yun looked around and finally found only himself left. But he didn't want to return, so he rode his horse alongside the fleeing people, asking for news from Lady Mi whenever he could. Perhaps his sincerity has moved a god, as someone finally told him that Lady Mi was shot in the left leg and was unable to walk, holding the baby in the courtyard nearby. After Zhao Yun heard the news, he went inside the courtyard and saw Lady Mi sitting beside a dry well, holding the baby. Lady Mi told Zhao Yun that as long as he could bring Ado to Liu Bei, she would die with no regret. Zhao Yun asked her to get on the horse, but she said, "I'm seriously injured. I cannot give you more trouble. Please take the child and leave here quickly." She insisted on refusing to get on the horse and urged Zhao Yun to take Ado and leave immediately. Time was running out. Lady Mi stopped arguing, silently put down Ado, rolled over and jumped into dry well, then ending her life. Zhao Yun hid Ado in his arms and mounted his horse to face another tough battle. The leader of Cao's army, carrying three-pointed and two-edged sword, directly targeted Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun stabbed him down in 3 rounds and then ran away from the bloody path, while Cao's soldiers were flashing in from left and right. Zhao Yun didn't dare to fight, but just rushed to kill the one blocking him in order to make himself a way out. Zhao Yun rode his horse fast and didn't pay attention to the road. Suddenly hit his horse down into a dirt pit, and Cao's soldiers thus wanted to take the opportunity to kill him. Unexpectedly, a red light flashed from the pit, and Zhao Yun's horse jumped out of the pit. The red light carried Zhao Yun and the baby out of the pit. Thus, he, the unrivaled hero, who risked his life, saved the child lord by the one light from disaster to auspiciousness. Zhao Yun, blessed by the one light, from then on showed even more mighty power. Thousands of Cao's soldiers rushed forth, but he drew his sword and became even more courageous as he fought. After breaking through the siege of Cao's soldiers, Zhao Yun slapped his horse and escaped all the way to the direction of Liu Bei. When he arrived at Changbanpo, he was very exhausted. Fortunately, Zhang Fei helped him, and he would finally, with his own hands, hand over the child lord to Liu Bei. Liu Bei, instead of being happy to see the baby, turned very angry. He roughly put the baby aside and said, "Because of you, I almost lost such a loyal hero." And the two wept at each other without a word. Zhao Yun had thus escaped death and rescued Ado from among thousands of Cao's troops, while he himself was not even injured at all. Here is a poem about him. Blood dyed the fighting robe and crimsoned his buff coat. None dare engage terrible warrior at Dangyang. In the days of old lived brave Zhao Zilong, who fought on the battlefield for his lord in danger. Since then, Changshan Zhao Zilong's name has spread far and wide, becoming incarnation of the loyal and invincible savior. Thank you very much for listening to the story. More touching stories will be ready for you if you just subscribe it. Thank you again.